Although I'm not going to go crazily into super detailing on this, I'm going to at least put the Vega logos in the interior. This is the best I can do, as you're seeing here, is take a photo of the steering wheel without the chromed logo and then figure out a way to chrome it. It's less than ideal, but I couldn't find a good photograph of a chromed logo. This comes back to the same old problem of Vegas being rare, and hence Vega parts being rare, and even photos of Vega parts being very rare. So I'm going to wing this as best I can. So first I have to do the free select around the logo. And here my lack of artistic skills will be immediately obvious. So this will be sloppy, but again, what will save me is the fact that the scale is so small. And I was a little bit surprised at how well I was able to simulate chrome by fiddling with the brightness and contrast controls, because that's ultimately what I did with this. I negated the image and then I adjusted the brightness and contrast, and somehow it worked. This was going to be quite difficult, I knew from the beginning. So get rid of the background. I have to invert the selection, create a transparency with the alpha channel. Remove. Then I have to negate the image, which I had forgotten how to do initially. You do it with the colors controls. Invert. See, that gets confusing because of the invert selection tool having the same logo. But see, now it looks almost believable. But then I want to go and fiddle with the brightness there. So darken, and then add detail by increasing the contrast. And I think this is better than I could have hoped for, generally. So I'm reasonably pleased with this. Although, as you can see, it would have been nicer to do a cleaner select. I'm saving time here, obviously. And it's going to be tiny. So scale it down, move it into place. First one's going to go there on the dash. Although it's got to be a little bit smaller. For a more detailed job, if this were going to be an interactive interior, another thing I would do is add all the molding, all the lining out and everything on the dash. I would also try to get seat textures and all of the interior paneling. But again, that would require not just research, but possibly travel. I would have to go visit a Vega owner and get their permission to take photos, because I don't see how else I could do that, because the websites out there just aren't sufficient. Now, the other logo, of course, went on the steering wheel. That's where I got the original photo. But I've made a mistake here because I've confused the back and the front of the steering wheel in the UV map. So you'll see later how I'm going to have to fix that. But this is the way UV maps are, is that when you unwrap them, you really have to be meticulous if you want to know where each thing is. And I found that it's faster actually to do trial and error, even if that sounds unprofessional. The big stuff you obviously have to check to see what's what, but it's a compromise. So this has got to get exported to Targa so that I can try it out in Blender. And I will discover my mistakes. Although, actually, I didn't make too many mistakes. I have enough experience now so that that doesn't happen so often. Basically, it's all UV mapping, placement, Some of it is not where I expected it to be, as with the steering wheel, and some of these faces are actually mirrored, so they're going to have to be turned around. The part with the radio and so on has to be rotated, actually, as you'll see in a minute. So I have to, first of all, import all the new texture files. And there we go. It doesn't look so bad, I think. Of course, I'm talking about my own work here. But as you can see, the panel with the radio has to be rotated. That's wrong. And the speedometer and the gauges there are also reversed, so that's going to have to be fixed later also. And the Vega logos are not even showing up at all, because I have to fix those faces in the UV map. I already knew that this stage of the project was going to be the most difficult, because the complexity of both the dash model and consequently the UV map make it inevitable. I mean, part of the reason I didn't meticulously examine every face of it is that it would take much, much, much more time than simply fixing mistakes. And this is, again, why a standard tip for 3D modeling is keep your models as simple as possible. But in this case, I wanted to get the actual shape of the dash approximated, and even to approximate it requires quite a lot of vertices. And in turn, that was to compensate somewhat for the fact that my textures would not be 100%. So I have to get that face there straightened out. As it turned out, I had the small side of it and the face itself reversed. That was my problem. Because it's very hard to gauge this when you don't have any textures to use for reference, actually. Now it's reversed. So I thought I could get out the easy way, but it's not only are those two faces the wrong size, but they are also mirrored as well. So I have to do this. So that's taken care of. Next. A little bit of cleanup here. This I wanted to get more or less straight because otherwise the shape of the Vega logo would be wrong. That's why I'm nitpicking here. So there, it's in place. The steering wheel will have to be fixed next. So that's it. Thanks for watching.